Hey, Ruckus Makers. We are joined today by my friend Andrea Caprio, who is a master certified transformational nutrition coach who helps busy professionals take back their power from yo-yo dieting and overeating with proven tools and simple lifestyle hacks. It is Andrea's mission to help others free themselves from self-sabotage and unhealthy habits so they can live a fulfilling and confident life. Welcome to the show, Andrea.
Danny, thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited, and thank you for all the listeners to be here too.
Absolutely. So, Andrea, I know that you came to nutrition through your own health story. And I remember you telling me that you thought you were healthy, but you weren't. So will you tell us that story?
Yes, I love sharing that because, I come from a European background, as you
Sure.
probably hear. I'm German. And in Europe, we kind of think we are eating quite healthy, right? And I've been traveling a lot in my life. And I kind of, made sure I had some vegetables and fruits and all this. So I thought I was eating quite healthy and everything was fine. And I have had a lot of health concerns developing. I had the migraine that was almost every week eventually over some time. I had some hormone issues, including several fibroids. I had always feel this feeling of bloating and all that. I had low energy. I was tired all the time. And I had put on a few more pounds than I thought initially. And so until one day I came across a really healthy detox and I did that and suddenly everything improved. Literally, I turned my health around within just a few weeks. And I was like, hold on. And then I kind of started to look a little bit in what I changed. And I realized that I've had far too much sugar in my diet before. There was the spoon of sugar in my coffee, in my tea. There was a little bit of jam maybe on my bread in the morning, etc., etc. And if I was, adding all this up during the day, I ended having, I don't remember how many grams, but it was more like, like 60, 70, 80 grams or so of sugar that added up, right? Knowing that also fruit is actually sugar. It's healthier than normal sugar, but still, it just adds up. So all these things together, plus a little bit more processed food. There was a bar here, there was some McDonald's there and whatever it was, right? And all this was adding up to actually being unhealthy.
Yeah, I do remember, and I know we want to be healthy, but when I lived in Europe, right, it's the sort of the culture in Belgium and Netherlands, you order some tea and coffee, they give you a little cookie or a piece of chocolate, right? But that turns into sort of a bad habit, and you can't certainly be ingesting way too much sugar as a result. I didn't eat chocolate before moving to Europe. And then my wife told me, you need an intervention. You've got a problem because Belgian chocolate is so good. So since we've moved, I don't have access to that, and I'm off the chocolate thing now. But you said your health changed in weeks, right? So that's dramatic, and I can only imagine the positive health outcomes after committing to this for years. But what were some of those changes you saw?
So when I started changing not only my nutrition, I also realized, I had to change other things like sleep, stress management, exercise, all the other things as well, because it's never just about one thing. I believe very much in a holistic way. And of course, that I learned later when I started studying. But the changes basically, it started off with really immediately having more energy. That was probably the quickest that I saw or realized. And I see that, with my clients as well. That's usually what they experience first is endless energy, where before they were really tired. The other thing that I realized immediately as well, or almost immediately, was the bloating that was gone. Now, most people, me included, think bloating is a normal thing, right? We kind of feel like, ugh, and, like not nice after a meal. And we just think it's normal. No, it is not normal. I see it all too often with my clients now. Obviously, now I have all that experience, right? But at the time, it was really when I started eating the right foods, and I also took out the wrong foods of my diet. So not only the unhealthy stuff, but also the foods like gluten or dairy a lot of people are having, intolerances. And at the time, I had damaged my digestive system so badly in a way, which without knowing that whatever I was eating was actually having a worse effect on my health. So once I started taking this out, everything improved in my digestive system and my gut. And then, of course, I lost weight. And then eventually, after some time, my migraines diminished. And as I mentioned earlier, I had weekly migraines. Nowadays, I have them maybe 2-3 times a year. So that's a huge improvement. And I had 3 fibroids, having to remove them. And actually, the doctors asked me to do a hysterectomy, which I refused at the time. And once I changed my eating, I never had any issues of having fibroids growing again. Now, fibroids are directly linked to hormone health. So some other people have other hormone issues, but a lot of women and also men, by the way, have, of course, hormone issues. And that's often linked to the eating. So improvement there.
Right. Well, okay. So listen, those principals, and school leaders that I serve, you mentioned something that I think would be very attractive to them. You said endless energy. Right. And wow, the job that they have is so demanding, and the hours they put in it's a very heart-centered, right, service-oriented position. So talk to us, let me frame it a different way. I see a lot of principals that are so busy, they barely even pause to take a lunch, right? And to put healthy foods and nutrients into their body to refuel, And so it's just sort of like a grab and go, or they skip lunch altogether, which is frustrating for me because I know they need to take care of themselves. They need to slow down and pause. What would you say to the school leader listening, the ruckus maker listening, who is in that situation, but they could have this endless energy? What are some easy next steps for them?
Okay, so first of all, the one thing really I would say is, in order to be able to give to others, and I appreciate, the teachers, the leaders in the schools, all the people who give so much to others. And I mean, definitely, right, this audience is the most important there. If you give, eventually your tank is empty. And you can imagine it like a car, right? If you don't put fuel in your car, eventually you get stranded, right? So you need to decide eventually for yourself, if you don't do it now, you will have eventually to do it later, right? If you don't take care of your body, if you don't fuel your body, if you don't add good nutrition into your tank, right? Eventually one day, the brakes will come on and you will have to rest. But that will not be pretty, as we all know, right? And this is the word which is out there: either pay for your health now or pay for your illness, or rather, let me say that, either invest in your health now or pay for your illness later. Right. And the invest is not only the money, right? It's also the time and the effort and all that. Now, looking at that, I really see that a lot of people don't prioritize themselves, right? They just prioritize everything else instead of themselves. So it's all about finding those little things that they can do to improve, right? The nutrition, mindful eating, mindfulness, sleep, stress management, all these little things, right? But I'm passionate about helping my clients. I only work with busy people, right? And I do appreciate, that the leaders are super busy, but I work with a lot of other very busy people. So I know how it is to find that time to have a break and, a snack, have a lunch or whatever. So to get into practical things now, planning is probably for me the number one that I would recommend, right? Right. So by planning in advance your week and planning a healthy lunch and a snack or so in advance is half the way done. Now, most people don't have time to get up, go to the restaurant or whatever it is, right? But most people at least have the time to have a little easy snack. So just spending a little bit time on the weekend to plan the week in advance and do some meal planning is already something that one can do, right? And then find simple meals, maybe just 2 or 3 super simple meals that you can rotate throughout the week. And you can, for example, do, I love salads at lunch, right? And you can do like a jar, right? And you can prepare those for 3-4 days in advance. And you can put in the jar literally like those mason jars, right? That you can easily close. You can start putting, you know, like in the bottom, maybe tomatoes and then cucumber or whatever you like, the light salad on top, have the dressing on the side, have maybe some protein, tuna, fish, even if it's the tin of tuna or something like that. Like this, you can take that with you, and literally in seconds, you can just quickly eat something like that. But speaking of, just a tin of tuna might be something, you know, at least you get the protein in, because in the end, a lot of people don't eat regularly, skip it, eventually get too hungry because the blood sugar then goes down. That leads, of course, to cravings. And usually then they eat carbs, right? Now, this whole cycle of carbs and hunger, carbs and hunger is like an up and down throughout the day, which is obviously super unhealthy, but also takes all your energy away. And that's what I did before, right? And that's what made me tired. Other things as well, but that was definitely one thing. Now, just by changing and making sure I eat regularly, I include enough vegetables, which is fiber, protein like fish or meat or beans or something like that, and less carbs is something that I would highly recommend. And ideally, you want to start actually at your breakfast already, maybe with a super healthy smoothie that you can take with you, right? So you can prepare the smoothie even in the evening. Just in the morning, you blend it, take it with you in the car while you go to school, or have it even at school. You can drink it. It's a super easy thing. And that keeps already your blood sugar most balanced, so you don't have those cravings and you have far more energy.
Yeah, love it. I can tell, right? We can all tell you are a master certified transformational nutrition coach. I have some connections. You know, the other day, boxes just show up, right? My wife has ordered some stuff. I said, honey, what is this? And she bought a bunch of glass bottles, right? We washed them, and that turned into meal planning, because this morning I had a really healthy smoothie, right? That was just filled with mostly vegetables and some fruit as well. And so that's now breakfast. But, you know, I love that I could just open up the fridge and the whole week is ready for both of us, right? Because it's just filled with smoothies. The other thing with the mason jar idea and the planning, you know, not only does it make it easier to make better choices, and when we intentionally plan, the wheels don't come off the bus, so to speak, right? We stay focused. But the cool thing also is it looks beautiful. If you put it in a glass jar and you just have a bunch of veg in there, because of all the different colors, it looks gorgeous. So it's appetizing as well to even look at. So I appreciate what you are sharing for sure. Earlier in your story, you talked about how you did damage to your digestive system through, you know, food choices you're making. I'm wondering if that then connects to like a healthy detox. I think that's something that you're interested in as well.
Yeah, so it's part of my 5-step system, is to
Okay.
reset the body's healing abilities. It's actually my second step. So I'm advancing a little bit because I want to share this a little bit with you later.
Yeah.
But it's very important that as we go in our life, we add toxins to our body, right? Food, the processed food we eat, the pesticides, the air we breathe, etc., etc. And those toxins kind of build up in our body, especially in our liver, right? Liver is one of our main detox organs. And eventually the liver cannot take it anymore. It kind of says, hello, too much, like a pipe in your house, right? When we have the pipe in the house that's full, you know, nothing goes back and forward. And that's often that happens with the liver. So when that happens, the body cannot get rid of toxins and eventually slows down, and that affects, of course, your digestive system on one side, but also your hormones. Now, if you are somebody who might be, maybe not you, but the listeners struggle with, for example, cravings or so, or hormone imbalances or whatever they are, or maybe even with sleep, all these things are linked to our hormonal system, our endocrine system. And the liver is closely connected to that. So it's kind of the digestive system, the liver, the hormones, right? Plus a lot of other organs as well. And that's very important to understand, because if one of these organs is not functioning properly, it obviously has an effect on all the other organs and systems, right? And all the other hormones. And just by making sure that your liver works properly, you can have an improvement on your digestive system and on your hormones at the same time. It's not always as easy, right? Obviously, sometimes also the rest of the digestive tract, it could be the stomach, it could be the small intestine, the colons or so, have taken a little bit of a beating. So we then go a little bit deeper and look actually at the root cause.
Right. Okay. Well, you mentioned some steps in your system. I'm wondering if that's the food freedom formula, but let's talk about that right after this break. We would love to get in a message from our sponsors, and then we'll touch on the food freedom formula. Learn how to successfully navigate change, shape your school's success, and lead your teams with Harvard's certificate in school management and leadership. Get world-class Harvard research specifically adapted for pre-K through 12 schools, self-paced online professional development that fits your schedule. Apply now at betterleadersbetterschools.com/Harvard. The Better Leaders, Better Schools podcast is also brought to you by TeachFX. Research shows that the more students speak in class, the more they learn and the better they perform. TeachFX has helped hundreds of schools increase their student engagement by visualizing for teachers what portions of class are teacher talk versus student talk. TeachFX also has a generous discount, 20% using a special code just for Ruckus Maker Nation. Go to teachfx.com/BLBS. And today's show is also proudly sponsored by Organized Binder, a program which gives students daily exposure to goal setting, reflective learning, time and task management, study strategies, organizational skills, and more. Organized Binder's color-coded system is implemented by the teacher through parallel process with students, helping them create a predictable and dependable classroom routine. You can learn more and improve your students' executive functioning and non-cognitive skills at organizedbinder.com. All right, and we are back with Master Certified Transformational Nutrition Coach, Andrea Caprio. And she is here to talk about the food freedom formula. I think we touched on step 2, which I'm guessing has to do with detox. But what else would you like to share around the formula?
Okay, so working with my clients over many, many years, hundreds of clients, I really realized that, it always needs a holistic approach when anybody is struggling with health issues, with emotional eating issues, or weight issues, or all together. Most of my clients have a combination of all these because obviously often they're related to each other. Now, developing this system or seeing that, the people have always similar issues. Everybody is different, of course, but it's very similar. And the approach in the end is thought very personalized, but needs those steps working all together. So one step alone is not helping, but all of them is really, it's in the beauty of combining them. So the first step of my food freedom formula, and I mentioned a little bit, is recognizing the root cause. Now, if somebody has a health issue, weight issue, or an emotional eating issue, cravings or so, is to find out why. Where does it come from? Is it a physical issue? Is it an emotional issue? Was there trauma? Is there stress? Whatever the issue is, we need to know what it is. We don't want just to put a Band-Aid on. Now, if many people are struggling with dieting or have tried yo-yo dieting their whole life, yo-yo dieting is a Band-Aid. It just doesn't work, right? We try the diet, it works for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is, but eventually we go back to normal. We get all our old weight and often more back right after losing it, if we lost it. So we really want to do that. Then the second step is, as I mentioned, reset your body's healing ability, because sometimes even though we do all the right things, let's say we have eaten unhealthy and we change it to healthy, But if still nothing happens, we don't lose the weight, we're still not getting better, then we have to look, okay, what's wrong there? Something is stuck. So we then might go into resetting or doing a detox or some other things that depends obviously on the person. After that, then we can actually repair the root cause, right? That's my third R step, repair the root cause. And there we really look at the different system, the digestive system, the endocrine system, and so on, and address those little things. So very often, just by finding out what somebody is intolerant to, like a food intolerance or so, and when we address it, right, we then can repair whatever damage and somebody can heal. And as a result, the weight might drop actually, or will drop usually. If there is maybe some emotional issues or so, and we address that, spirituality, all these things are obviously super important. The fourth steps then is to relearn healthy habits. And that is definitely, in my case, what I learned is, I had forgotten to be healthy. And I think many of the leaders here who are listening today have forgotten to look after themselves. They have forgotten to prioritize themselves, to have self-care habits, right? Take a bath, go for a walk, eat healthy, whatever it is. Now, I'm asking you, the listeners, you brush your teeth every morning and evening, I guess. I hope so, at least, right? And we're teaching that our pupils as well, our students, right? Our children. So super important, but nobody really thinks about it, right? We just do it. And that's something what I actually teach my clients through tiny habits. By the way, really great book, Tiny Habits, right. That helps I'm sure you know that, Danny, that really helps to start very small habits. Now, when you start changing something, and we talked about earlier eating healthier, it's not good just to go all in. Like if you've eaten super unhealthy 3 times McDonald's and suddenly then eat only vegetable, you're probably going to struggle. But starting slowly, step by step, and making that really a habit, combine an existing habit with a new habit and celebrate, very important. Yeah. These are things that really help to learn habits. And then the last step, which in my opinion is the most important, I'm really passionate, is about rewiring the mindset. Very often we have those limiting beliefs in our mind. And I see that specifically with successful people, right? Those leaders usually have that far more than actually others. In my opinion, I see that because they're very successful in one area, because they've been working very hard their life, because they had to prove themselves. Usually comes from a childhood or some earlier trauma or some maybe limiting beliefs that we developed during our childhood. We are not good enough, we are not worthy, we are not valuable, all these kind of little things in our minds. And we all have them in some forms, right? But finding out what that is and overcoming those limiting beliefs, the self-sabotage we often have, because we know we should be eating the salad and not the bun or whatever it is, right? But we still self-sabotage ourselves and say, oh no, just today, it doesn't matter and whatever. And this is self-sabotage. So working on these all together is what brings you to my food freedom that I really love my clients to achieve, because then they don't need to be overwhelmed by thinking about food all the time.
Right. Well, you heard it here. You could have food freedom. You could have endless energy, better health outcomes. So, Andrea, you've definitely been a gift to the Better Leaders, Better Schools community and ruckus makers listening. Speaking of gifts, I think you prepared something special for the ruckus maker listening. And so can you tell us about the gift and maybe the discovery call that's bundled together with that?
Yes, absolutely. So actually, I have, just while I was talking, I had planned a certain gift, but I actually changed it. So because I thought what we talked today and really supporting those leaders that are here that don't have time, I want to share one really nice gift that I'm having. It's called a Ballads blood sugar kit. Now, I've been talking about having a smoothie in the morning that is really helpful to get off to a good start of the day, and also really have a balanced blood sugar. So it's in there. There are very simple, healthy meals in there that you can have and prepare in advance. And there are also a lot of other tips on how to overcome this up and down of the blood sugar that you experience, which normally leads to fatigue and cravings. So it's just a very simple, it's like a mini program, just in a, like a little ebook together. But it is, for me, the best start of somebody who wants to improve their energy, who wants to improve their cravings and an overall health. So it's really a great start. So I will share that with you. And then the other thing that I will share is a session for those who sign up, and I will have to limit that a little bit. So in case you're not getting any space, please just contact me, and I can always put you on a wait list, but obviously I have only that much space. And that is a session with me, which is, I call it a health session, a food freedom session, right? Where I help people directly to personalize their health journey. So basically that session allows me to find out a little bit more about somebody's goals. So if you're interested in that, you definitely want to grab that. So I can help you to find out about your goals, what you're struggling with, and then we can put an action plan together, which is a blueprint, right, for you to take action on that. And of course, should you be interested in getting help and fast track that possibility of getting help here, then you can, we can discuss the different options to work together.
Brilliant. That is super generous, Andrea. So we will link that up for the ruckus maker listening. And have the two gifts that we're talking about. The discovery call will be linked up, and the balanced blood sugar gift will also be linked up for you in the show notes. Andrea, if you could put a message on all school marquees just for a single day, what would your message read?
Oh, that's a great question. I believe school is so important, right? So I think if it would be for the pupils in the school, it would, for everybody, by the way, it would be all you want to be, right? You're worth it. And probably I would also give something like live life to the fullest, right? We only have one life, so let's do it, right?
Let's do it. You're building a school from the ground up, Andrea. You're not limited by any resources. Your only limitation is your imagination. In building this school, what would be your 3 guiding principles?
I love your questions. So I think the one thing I'm really, and I have 2 kids, they're adult now, and we changed the school system. They were in the South African to the French system. South African, very heart-centered and all that. So the French, very academic, and they still don't despise me, but despise the decision. But definitely, I would say to focus more on non-academic subjects. Definitely nutrition comes up there, right? I'm very passionate, obviously, but also things like mindfulness and self-care, and have classes included. The second thing, probably center the school more about self-love instead of bullying, for example, right? Because I believe then all this bullying comes because people don't love themselves. And obviously then, that they don't love, they put that on others. So accept and respect. And then also in terms of the school system, probably have a little bit less pressure. So no pressure in terms of the marks we're getting at school, but also in terms of, the whole body culture, when people compare themselves and all that. I think that would be super important.
It is. Andrea, thank you so much for being a part of the Better Leaders, Better Schools podcast. We covered a lot of ground today. So if there was just one thing you wanted a ruckus maker to remember, what is that one thing?
Fuel your own tank first before giving to others.